just repeat your question so I know I'm not missing a point. This is where do you find, due to uniformly distributed load, how do you calculate the stress due to that? Is that what you said? Yes, sir. So we'll say we have uniformly distributed load, which will have an omega, and the omega is called a load intensity or running load. It's running load. It runs along the axis. So omega's units are usually running load. So this is pound per inch, pound per foot, Newton per meter. So you see, it is a load that is running. This is called running load. That's an omega. So it tells me that if you take this omega pound per inch and you want a force out of it, a force out of it is an L, you want the L, then you must multiply it by an area, or by the length to get that. See that? So where is that length? Oh, I'll say that length is called, in aircraft it's called a V half, right? V half is a span divided by 2. But in that case, there's formulas, I think they call it an L. So the total force then is L omega, where this is in inch and this is in pound per inch. So then this becomes a pound. So, but that's the force due to omega. So what is the moment due to omega? Is that force now replaced with a resultant force. So I'll put a resultant force is resultant, in the middle of the beam, because the rectangle is uniform. So the centroid of that rectangle is in the middle. So if that Fr times L half is the stress. So you see, the moment then is F at F, reaction resultant, times its R. Isn't that the R? L half, the R. F itself is L omega. So I say moment is L omega times L half. So the moment then is omega L squared over half. So then the stress is mc over I, where m was calculated, if I remember it correctly. It's been a long, long time since I taught that, like last semester. Students tell me, it's been a long time, 2 years ago. I said, oh my God. Mine was like 50 years ago. Does that make sense? Does that it reminds you of something? It reminds you of your NTS 300? Was that your teacher or was it Ms. Lai? Me? Oh, I was sick. I think I came in and out. No, I was there. I must have talked about this.
You did.
So now let me tell you something. This is a mistake every student makes at this level. You know how I can add up the stress? You can't add up deflections. Right? They're not linear. This is a linear analysis. This is a linear analysis. MC over I is a linear analysis. F times D times C over I is a linear analysis. So you can add them up. But a deflection of a cantilever beam, as you remember, is deflection, that's deflection of a cantilever beam. Remember what it was? It was FQ over 3EI, I think. Is it? In your formula sheet, you can look at it. Look, this is no longer linear. So you can't add up deflections, but you can add up stress. Right?
Cool.
have a very nice exam. So here again I have, so multiple loading, we talked about multiple loading on a wing. And then I say stress concentration. Of course, I've given you some stress concentrations with holes and corners. Have you remember those? Remember those? So we have a part that has a corner sharp. It will have a K. If it has a corner that is not sharp, it will have, there is a radius, it will have a different concentration. Do you remember stress concentration factors? Just want the student to understand that when we calculate the stress on a part, we don't compare it, we compare it to relevant material. So let's say if you put a component under tension, if you compare a component under tension, you say, when will it break? When the strength becomes smaller than the stress, or the stress is larger than the strength. That's what we say. But which is strength? What is strength? The strength in doing what? Tensile? Is it on tensile? Is it in compression? Is it in shear? Is it the fatigue? So I say, what is happening to this? How is it going to break? So I am going to imagine that it's breaking under tension. So if it breaks under the tension, I will compare it with ultimate tensile, or ultimate yield under tension. So this would actually produce rupture. This produce yield. So it depends what the failure criteria is. The failure criteria says if you put this under tension, as soon as it yields, it has failed. But then it says, I'll put it under a tensile, and until it doesn't break, it hasn't failed. So if I really want to push it to break, then I'll put the rupture, I'll compare it to the rupture and say, well, it still hasn't reached the rupture. I say, why not break? Even though it yielded, but it hasn't ruptured yet. But if the question says the failure happens during yield, or you may assume the failure is under yield, then you can compare it to the yield. But if it is under compression, and if people are asking you under compression, this is a compression, then you say, oh, what kind of compression? Is this an Euler compression or a Johnson compression? Remember, there is a difference between them. Euler compression is a stability-driven phenomenon, whereas a Johnson compression is a crippling analysis. So it will never buckle, it will cripple. So in this case, this part is yielding, where in this case, it will never get to yield, it will become critical load that loses its stability, buckles. Did I answer that question? Sir?
Maybe I missed something, but how does it all relate to the stress concentration?
Stress concentration, because after we do all these analysis, we'll see that the component will become too small if we design aircraft. If we design an aircraft based on static loading, then it will be too small. It's static. If you do that, you will find that the fuselage, the thickness on the fuselage becomes 5,000. It's no good. So we don't design an aircraft to withstand a load at one time, only once, standing still. We design an aircraft for a load that is fluctuating. So it is compression on a fuselage, is fluctuating, so it is cyclic. With the compression and decompression on an aircraft does that to the fuselage hundreds of thousands of times. That is called a cyclic loading. So the load here at time zero, load here at time zero was a certain, and then at time larger than zero, reduced. So this is called a cyclic load. If you subject a component to a cyclic load, it does not have the same ability to withstand these properties. You can't use these properties to design an aircraft for fatigue or when it gets tired. We do use another property of the material called endurance limit. The endurance limit takes the material S and N. So it's called stress, and this is a cycle. This is a cycle. From here to here is one cycle. So, it says, if you cycle this component 5 million times, you must stress it very, very low. If you cycle this part only 10 times, you can stress it much higher. So that curve here gives the relationship between how much cyclic stress the component will experience, therefore how much stress you can apply to it. And that SN diagram is called an SN diagram. It's different for every part, and it looks like that. On a log scale. This is not a linear scale, it's a log scale. It doesn't have a kick in it. It's like that. So what it means that if you cycle it 200,000 times, because that's 200,000 times, so a component does 200,000 times of a cyclic vibration, for example, then if you do it only 200,000 times, it will see this much stress. So this is the stress of the 200K. You can stress it only up to that point. But if you run this like 3 million cycles, then you cannot stress it more than this stress of a 3 million. So it says you're cycling it more, vibrating it more, must have less stress. So at some point we'll say, if the stress is low enough, then it lives forever. So that's the stress that is low enough. And then they say, why you look color? Give me color. I used to be offended when they called me colored. Now I like it. I am colored. So if you have, this is called an endurance limit. So it says if you stress it, this is stress, endurance. If you stress it only to that point, so it doesn't matter how much you cycle it anymore, it lives forever. So what I need to say is that a material gets tired. We count on that time that it is tired, not right now that it is not tired. So if I ask you how much backpack can you handle, you say 200 pounds. Now, what about 5 days from now? 5 days from now in the mountains, can you still carry that? No, we are not tired. You have to count on the fact that aircraft component material does get tired. Make sure it doesn't get too tired at the minimum. Like, yes, sir.
You never mentioned stress concentration when you talked about that. So I understand life cycles and things like that, but you have written down stress concentration, and you wrote down the letter K, and I don't know what that means.
You don't have that one in front
I
of
mean,
you.
I understand that there's corners and stress gets concentrated there, but are we gonna have to calculate that or just?
So
talk about
don't
the
you
area?
have material from MTS 300 about the stress concentration corners with the radius?
No.
Not even, no.
Yeah, I mean, I could go and find that, but I mean, you mentioned it as though you were reviewing it, but then you just said.
No, I'm mentioning it as it was a prerequisite.
Okay,
It was a prerequisite to the MTS 300 and a prerequisite to the course. And this concentration factor was covered in that MTS 300.
Right.
I'm using prerequisites, even though we don't have to remind you that we will use prerequisites, but I'm reminding you that you are using prerequisites.
okay, well, we talked about other ones, so just wondering if we were, it just seemed like something I missed.
Now
so.
this is, I have a diagram, but I will, I will look to see whether I gave it to that class or not. But I had a diagram that it has a series of curves. These curves had a ratio A over B, and this ratio here had an R over A. So, and then when calculating those, we find a K, we said sigma equals K sigma max equals K sigma. So that was that case. But we'll review it again in your advanced 700 course, because we need to talk about the teeth and aircraft component being tired. Should not let it bother you, my friend. I will not ask question, I will go review what exact handouts I've given you, and then I will question you on that, no surprises. Even though I have to rely on prerequisites, you know. If somebody says, if he says to me, you want me to calculate that? So a squared plus b squared equals h squared? Is that what you want me to do? When did you cover that here? We didn't cover that. Can I test you on that, even though I didn't cover that? That's because of prerequisite. So if there is a prerequisite and it shows itself in an exam, these 8 PCAP guys, you know, ABI guys and PCAP guys, you know those guys? Those guys are giving us permission to hand in the degree. They come and look at my exams and say, why do you make a student take a prerequisite course if you're not going to use that prerequisite course material here? Are you just torturing the student? Right? We need to show evidence of prerequisite courses are needed on post-requisite courses. So I'm telling you, there is a stress concentration coverage, but you may not see it on the final exam. No surprise in the final exam. Ease of your mind, no surprise in the final exam.
Oh, I'm fine.
You sound fine too.
Speaking of using up minds, is
Mhm.
there any multiple choice?
Would you like one?
No.
Short answer?
Yeah, short bullet point. I have bullet point answers. I want you to draw things for me. I want you to sketch, calculate, identify,
Any opinion-based questions?
opinion. Professional, legitimate, reasonable opinion. So if you say, I don't like 70-75, I like 20-24 better than 70-75, you must give a reason.
But no multiple choice.
You know, I can't give you my.
No.
I tell you, you know, for me, let me tell you, for me, it's difficult to design a multiple choice, it's easy to market. So it makes no difference. But the problem is that I must take this student in mind as a degree student writing a multiple choice. A degree student. A degree student must read 4 questions. One of them immediately said, that cannot be. So 1 wrong. The other 3 are very close. They have to be close. I want my student to pick 1 word, 1 phenomenon, 1 prerequisite and say, this is the correct answer. And it is not the only correct answer. I put 2 correct answers. And I want you to pick up the correct answer.
But then if you're close, you don't get part marks.
That is another thing I did. I said,
So
if
some
you
people-
don't know, don't pick one. There is a penalty for the wrong answer.
Yes.
You still fail.
So there, but there won't be multiple choice. Yes.
It's just not fair, you know, at the engineering courses, if it was a nursing course, PCAP guys will say, okay, you can have all multiple choice, but it's engineering, engineers require to draw things, to calculate things, to explain things. We take a break, when we come back, all I want, I'll sit here, anything you want to show me, you show me, you don't want, you don't want. 12 minutes.